it's Kelly Leger here along with
Amber Buto.
and our special guest, James Levesque, coming to you from Studio One at For the One Studios for Set Life. We are super excited today. I'm super excited today because I got longtime friend with me, James Levesque. We're glad to have you today, man.
On.
Yeah,
So good to be here.
Yeah,
We're tenured, man.
Oh my gosh!
Go back.
I really, honestly, Amber, I don't even know where to start when you know somebody this long and have so much history and have done so much, so many things. James and I have known each other for feels like a bazillion years. Originally from Connecticut, from New England area.
Yep.
And he's got a powerful, really a powerful story.
Yep.
And so it's really like we're interjecting into this success story.
Bingo.
Of what just this life, man. I'm excited to know you. It's been such a great journey, whether it's been on the media front, whether it's been in helping people, throughout the states or around the world, missions wise, or through ministry. Like just an awesome all around guy. So I guess, man, just introduce yourself so our audience knows who James Levesque is. Tell me a little bit about yourself and the story.
Oh, man. Well, so good to be here, guys. Good to meet you.
Yeah.
Also, I was just thinking about it. You have a storage facility somewhere with footage that remember we were in Brooklyn, New York filming?
Yes.
And then I tried to hit you up for the footage, and Kelly's like, oh, I'm sorry, man. It's in a storage somewhere.
Yeah.
I feel like he tells that to everybody, though, and it's like everybody has
It's a warehouse full of film.
Oh,
I
man.
think he uses it as bribing for later.
Yeah, down the road.
What
Yes,
you got?
down the
You want
road.
me to
I
film
think
what
he
you
has
got?
a master plot plan for that.
I know who you were. Oh, man. Well, man, James Levesque, I don't even know where to begin, man. Wow. Just crazy story, right?
Yeah.
Just been redeemed from so much. And, I was telling my wife the other day, like, when you go through these seasons of life, and you're like, you'll look around the room and think, man, it's always going to be like this, and we're all going for the same things. And then I wasn't ready to realize that not everybody, goes old right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because, the truth is, on one hand, our life isn't a sum total of our failures. We know that's not true. But, man, it's like the more you stay plugged in, right, the more you're doing the right things, it's like your hands are directed. And I just feel like, man, God's hand's been on my life, and when I look at it, it's like I'm not that good, But when you come from where I came from and you go look at it now, there's no way I take credit for it,
For sure.
I mean, I remember by the time I was 21, I never left Connecticut other than the Bronx for ungood reasons, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then to go to around the world in 70 nations and all the things we've done, it's like, man,
best-selling author, huge, crazy, over-the-top, successful podcast.
But you feel like
multiple TV shows.
You feel like the scenes change, but you really are. And if you can, we talk about staying true. I mean, you're incredible. If you really are you, and I just feel like we're in a day right now, people aren't really themselves. Everywhere you look, they're trying to tell you to be something else. And I met a therapist in Madison, Connecticut, who was just getting coffee at Starbucks.
Your therapist? It was your therapist?
It's not my therapist. I could call her from time to time. It's actually funny. She said to me, I know you. I know you. I'm like, you don't know nothing about me. She drilled me. And I was like, oh, you're pretty good. I'm not going to speak against therapy anymore. You're good. But, and then ironically that week, another article came out of the Wall Street Journal similar, but she basically said, look, I didn't sign up to be a millennial therapist. I thought I was going in to help people. And then now, and she said the number one things she deals with millennials is number one issue, by the way, and she gave her whole life now for this, is they struggle between perception and reality.
Yep. Amen.
What they see and what they struggle to believe that they are.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we were talking about. I feel like you've been given a gift. We all see life a certain way. We all have our own gifting. We all have, but we're being told not to see life that way.
Yeah.
You're being told to walk into a room as someone else.
Yeah.
And if we can learn, God's created you this way, man, your giftings, the way, your gifts, we can celebrate each other's diversity, appreciate that we're not supposed to be the same. And most people can't do that. And so we're in a world that's so fabricated, and it's like, man, if you just can be who you are, how do you see life? Man, your gifting's incredible. Be you.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to be somebody you're not,
somebody told me once to be of counseling was the two greatest words ever spoken were "me too," and I was like, that is terrible. that's terrible. I don't want anybody to say me too. But I get in the flesh, it's gratifying. It's like if I'm struggling with something and somebody's like, yeah, man, me too. You're like, feel justified
Right,
in
come
whatever
referee.
it is, right? Like you feel, and I was like, yeah, but if there's two of the same, then there's redundancy and somebody is expendable.
Yeah,
right?
Someone's not being honest.
Right? Like, but even still, like, you don't want two of the same things. Everybody wants something uniquely different. Everybody wants to be uniquely different. But I think this generation, how do you find uniqueness when you've grown up with filters in your hand? And everything's to look the same. And this is what is right. This is what is to be the bar. And it's not even real. Like, it's a filter. It's, a facade.
Crazy. No, it's true.
Right? Like, that's this generation. That's what they've grown up in. That's what they've grown to know. And I think that's why it's so hard for them to find authenticness, because that authenticness isn't what's received. No, I need you to fit this because this is what's standard.
Okay, so question, for both of you guys, I think you both have some unique answers on this.
I feel like we've been separated at birth, by the way.
No, I know these two. Wow,
this
just
goes
wow,
incredible.
just wow. Okay, so
Thanks, brother.
but so much in our culture today is you hear the you be you, self-love, you be you. How does that fit into, this whole thing? How do you think that? I mean, what is that?
I can talk on that all day long.
Yeah, I think what is you, right? Like, what do you, what is, you have to understand, here's a big one. I don't know if we can say it, but Tucker Carlson leaves Fox, right? Mm-hmm. So at the time he had the top show, This dude goes on Twitter, he does whatever his first rant is, and he says something crazy. He said Americans are the most uninformed people on the planet. How do you even talk like this, bro? Yeah. You literally gave us a news show, us, America, for the last year, and you're going to come out and say we don't have any information? So then it tells you, what is you then? What are you being fed and what are you being told? And that's hard, man, because truthfully, security comes from healthy relationships, parents, and it's not a generation that's secure, man. They want to be somebody else. Like you said, I've passed a long time. I'll see people that'll be in my office talking about, I don't want to be married anymore. I don't even want to I want to get divorced. I'm helping control an issue. 2 hours later, #date night, love of my life. Yeah. That's the world we live in.
Yep.
It's all filtered. Yep. And then you really feel like that's the real world. That's not the real world.
Yeah.
And think about it. So, but here's the other thing I do realize. You can feel real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In a younger generation, bro, you can feel real. Mm-hmm. When you walk in a room and I meet you guys, I know it's exactly who you are. Mm-hmm. That's not most people, bro. Let's be real. Mm-hmm. Yep. They're not themselves. They're coming in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think, too, this generation that's saying, yeah, you do you, be, what they're saying is push your agenda, push what you want to win, right? Women's rights, such and such rights, right? Like, be you and be unapologetic you. So right, wrong, or indifferent, that's like saying, be stuck on drugs. Be you, man, if that's what makes you happy.
That's what I mean, yeah.
And
you're
it's
100%
like
right.
they're selling an agenda. They're selling something else, not really the authentic version of you. I think that's what they're in search of, and that's what they have to try to seek to find. I mean, I think we're all on that, journey of finding who we really are. But if you ask the common person, if I was to ask our audience right now, just tell me maybe two, maybe. What are two things you're great at? It's super hard for people. It's super hard. Well, okay, because then I say, you've got to start with what you've got. So what are you good at? Because what you're good at, you'll do well, okay? So let's do that. Let's don't go try to just, sounds like a good idea, like, I would love to be a singer. I can't sing to save my life. Let's not, okay? Let's don't start there. Right. But if you say, okay, hey, I can communicate in a certain way, so let's then talk about how we can communicate for a company, or where are some communication departments you can look at. Start with what you're good at. Most people can't even tell you that right now. They can't tell you what they're good at. What do you love? And they say something that the world's told them to love.
What somebody else wants them to think.
Yes, instead of who they are. So what are you doing to evaluate within yourself? Same thing with character. If you ask them, what are your top 5 core characteristic traits? What do you live from? Like when you die, what do you want somebody to say about you? Or when you walk out of a room, what do you want somebody to say about you? Man, XYZ. For me, that's like, I want them to know that I'm integrity. I strive for excellence on a regular basis. I want you to feel loved and accepted when you're in my presence. I want honesty to be the thread of our relationship. Compassion. I want to be moved by compassion, which means I don't want to leave you the same. Like, I want to deposit something good in you when we walk away. Like, those are things that are super important to me. And I think this generation doesn't even have those thoughts to start off with because they're not probed for those thoughts.
Yeah, they don't even ask themselves.
They're fed everything of what they're supposed to think or what they're supposed to be or what sounds good, right?
I saw this, this TikTok thing on the plane, and it was crazy. She's 38 years old. She had 2 kids, been divorced, and she's all done up, nails, and she's looking at the camera, and she breaks. And she said, I'm not made to date. I can't do this. And she's like, look, I know you're not going to agree with me. And I'm watching her now. And I know she's finally tapping into the truth.
Yeah.
She said, I'm not made. You know what I'm made? And she's telling you her desires.
Yes.
But the feeling I got is she never tapped into those. She said, you're not going to like it. And you're going to tell me I'm not a woman. I want a best friend to marry. I want to cook. I want you to come home. I want to raise our kids. And I'm like watching this, getting so moved. And I'm looking in her eyes. And I'm like, what is moving me so much about this? She's finally being honest. Mm-hmm. I don't want to just hook up with you. And it's like, most people aren't going to talk like that, number one.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But and I don't care what the value system is, bro, be who you are. And I knew she was. And it was so moving to me because you know how I talk like that as a woman.
Yeah.
You're being told you don't need a man, you work, who cares, da-da-da. But this woman is like, look, I know you don't like this and you can call me old-fashioned. And she's just my 4-year-old girl. I didn't groom her this way. She wants to dress up. She wants to play house. She plays it. She cooks in the kitchen. I'm not making her do this.
Yeah.
She inside is going, I want to take care of dad. I want to take care of the kid, the little baby dog. Like, that's a nature. You're going to be way more than that.
Yes.
But we're not going to go ahead and ignore what you feel.
Yep.
And this woman, I was just so moved because I felt like you're being honest. You know?
Wow. I mean, so I love that we started here. Like, it's just like, we like,
in the pit.
okay, now we dove in, all right? For Set Life, we're going deep. We're usually, we're all over the place with Set Life and talking production. But I think this is a perfect place to start, especially with having you here and Amber, you talk about authenticity. So being who you are, Amber, and being who you are, James, has absolutely led you to this place and this position that you are in life.
Yep.
Like that is what led you to this platform right here, being all those things that we just discussed. I'm going to swing us more into the production lane here for a little while, and we can definitely still riff off of this place that we're coming from because it's really good. So, James, I've already said it a little bit, but, James has had a super successful podcast. Like, how many people have listened?
Our first one was over 2 million downloads.
Tell me, I mean, just a lot, just super successful books, best-selling books on whatever list of lists you could say more about that. But we've pitched a bazillion shows together. I have, as a director, as a career as a director, I pitched a lot of TV shows.
Yeah.
And usually you get no's. Usually it's a no or it's a not now or whatever the case may be. Well, I'll just say that usually when I pitch a show and James Levesque is in the show, I'm pitching him as talent, they might say no to my show, and they have multiple times, but they always say yes to James. He's always like, yes, no, but him, yes, but him, yes. They always want to sign the talent.
Yeah.
So he is, that is just on him, to be able to do that. And he's actually involved in some shows and some producers that we met together a long time ago that they're being involved in. What's that one? I mean, I don't know, you probably can't say too much about it.
But I'm going to be hosting a show, kind of a true crime, and it's really looks like it's going to happen. So
cool. That's super cool.
Yeah.
And so, but he just has done a lot in this, in the media space, has had a lot of successes there, and you're about to see a whole lot more come from what he's doing. But tell me about some of this experience in media. Okay, so James Levesque is a pastor and a church planter, but as you can tell, very, very different pastor, very different in that space. Tell me some of your experiences when it comes to media, things that you have observed, things that you've, gotten into. Like, our world is production over here at Set Life. You know, what's been that experience for you going from where you've come from, crazy rough upbringing,
Sure.
you know, going into ministry and now this media world?
Yeah, you know, coming from, gosh, I really feel like I came from the gutter, you know, and there's not a lot of pride when you come from that, you know, and then you just realize, and by the way, I think the things that I've been through really shaped me. That you kind of, when you have a kid early on, you're forced to grow up quick.
Yeah.
When you don't have a dad around and you're raising yourself, you're forced to like toughen up, you know? So I've always been like, I'm just, whatever comes, I'm ready. And then you really start to find you know? And I've always just had this ability to just be me. And, but not like I'm great. Like I don't need to be great, but it's it. You know what I mean? Like I just want to feel like I'm not faking anybody. It's just how I've always been. And then it just kind of, you don't even realize actually until, and actually, believe it or not, it sounds really crazy. It wasn't until I was filming in Austin last month that these producers was like, you are incredible at talking. And I'm like, really? Like I wasn't even being I'm like, yo, like maybe I am. You know what I mean? Like you don't realize that, because for me.
It had to do with who it was coming from too, though, right? Would you say? I mean, did it meant something?
Oh man, it meant a lot. Yeah, it just gave me extra. We all need confidence.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
true.
good. And
confirmation, I think, of something that you've already felt. Like somebody told me one time, you can't see your own strengths because it's so close to you. It's what you do every day. So it seems so natural.
right.
Like you feel like everybody can do that. Like it's no big deal,
It's
right?
easy
It's just
for
what you
'cause
do.
it's a gift.
But when somebody else confirms that gift, you're like, really? Like
No
you see
doubt.
that? So then it's a belief that you got to adapt and go, okay, then how do I use this
Right.
for good? Like, how do I use this right?
100%.
Like, how do I use this to benefit?
And I think you were one of those voices, you know, I mean, especially in a Christian world, man, it's like, it's weird. It's very taboo not to, but I always felt like that's not what I want. Like, I don't want Christian media. Like, I want to reach people, and just like, why can't it just be media? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And why can't you just be good at what you do? And this is another part of my life. Like, why are we making these weird lines? Like,
Yeah.
let's remove the lines. And so it was just one thing after another of trying to use my gifts. You know, I don't have all the talent you guys have, but man, I know how to be me, and you're incredible at that too. Like, it's just, this is who we are, and when you feel real, and then it just goes through stages, you know?
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah. Well, I just think people can attach to the real.
Yeah.
You can't attach to fake.
Totally.
You know, and so and I think when you know yourself, it gives room for other people to be themselves, because you stay in your box.
Right.
Like, you're not trying to take from them.
Right.
Like, you're not trying to mirror or copy what they're doing. Because in therapy, they'll say when you're going to go to counsel somebody, you're supposed to mirror the movements of who you're talking to, because it's confirming to them.
Wow.
It's really affirming to them.
Yeah.
So if you see them do this, you do this.
Signals,
you
right.
see, like, you'll watch, and now y'all are going to watch this in
Yeah, no, I'm
conversation.
about to do what you're doing.
But
I'm not trying to get up like that.
It is a it's a confirmation kind of thing. But when you're just comfortable in your own skin, and you're not taking from anybody else, and you're not doing that, then it leaves freedom for them to just kind of blossom, I feel like.
I totally agree.
And that's something, when you're with somebody who's really confident and secure, you're free to be like, I'm not going to offend them, right? Like, should I say this, or should I? You know, like, they are who they are, and you know what's going to offend them, and you know what's not going to offend them, and you know, you just are free in that relationship.
Right.
So I think there's just a freedom in finding,
I do
and
think
knowing
so.
who you are.
And then, you know, even with the podcast, like, it sounds crazy. I was getting my kids ready for school, and I was listening to a sports podcast, just like literally sports. But the man's voice was so like intimate. Like, and I'm listening to him, and he was talking about whatever. It was some ESPN kind of like thing going on in the news. And I'm like making the food, and I'm going, man, like, you are really impacting my heart by the way you talk. It just felt like it's podcast, like it's a power podcast. I felt like it was me and him. And a thought, we talk about these thoughts that are allowed to come in. The thought was, why can't I do this? Why can't I speak into a phone? I don't have all this, but why can't I speak into a phone and my voice help change people's lives? That was literally it. Didn't even care if anybody listened. It was like, I'm going to just raw record. I didn't have the production team yet. It was like, why don't I do this? And that turned into like all of this, which turned into books. I mean, people, publishers, I got all your podcasts. Here's what I'm going to write a book for you. Like, then it's like, why can't I do voiceover? Right? Oh, you're a preacher. Oh, you're this. No, dude, I'm so much more. Bro, I went to acting lessons, voice acting.
Yeah.
I remember.
Not because I thought I'd be all, just because like, why can't I take these little gifts we have and just like be me?
Yes.
And that turned into a lot of stuff in the industry. It's like just my voice. Like, so you go from like, when you really are yourself, it's like, man, this is who I am. We all have gifts, but if we're constantly being bombarded that we're not significant, we're always confused, we're not living to what somebody else wants us to be, man, you then start to like really believe in who you've been created to be. Like you are a director. Like you were born to direct. Like unapologetically you go. Like, you know what I mean? It's how you are. You were like, you were born to just change rooms that you walk in and inspire people. Like that's like, don't run from that. Yeah. Like the world's going to tell you, no, you better act like this one. You can't do this. No, you better be this producer. And it's like, no, if I'm this producer, then I'm going to lose who I am.
Yep.
It's true. It's so true. What were you saying about in Austin when you were recording there recently, and those guys were really just kind of validating yet again that thing on your life? Remember what you were talking about there?
Yeah, no, it was just impactful to me because you're, like she said, you're you. So you just, you know, like some of the most gifted people I ever met, it just comes so natural to them, whether they're singers or, we know a lot of people in the major entertainment industry. Well, you're around these people, they're normal people. But you're like, wow, you're kind of unnormal, right? Because you can sing like somebody I've never seen, or you can act like real actors. You know what I mean? When you like, bro, I'm talking about real actors. You know the difference too.
Yeah.
We've been all around actors. When you see, like I did one last December, we filmed a Christmas show. Well, there were like a Hallmark movie. There were a lot of people in the room. There was one A-lister. When that dude opened his mouth, the room changed.
Yeah.
The room, and I'm just watching. It reminded me of I saw a comedy, Dave Chappelle. I saw him live perform. You watch this dude? Come on, guys, get out of here. This ain't a comic. He's on a different level.
Yeah.
His storytelling, like, bro, I watch these things. I'm like, you are gifted.
Mastery.
Yeah.
I watched this person, was like, and then you learn it and you grow. Sure. But I don't think everybody in Hollywood's like that. But you find these people and you're like, you're something different on you than and you know it, you know? And it's like, I call it a superpower. We all have it. It's just most people are trying to find someone else's superpower.
That's the problem. Knowing where you fit. It's like they used to say all the time, Simon Cowell would always say the it factor.
The it factor.
The it factor. So there's a lot of kids and a lot of people that get up there and sing and have talents and do that. Phenomenally talented people, okay? They don't have that it factor. And they all want the it factor.
Right.
I say this if you're in the faith world preaching and stuff like that. There's some pastors that they have this anointing or this it on them, right? And they have mega churches. And then other people go and criticize them because they have the ability to reach the masses, which is, I think, the whole point of all of us, but whatever. It's like, well, then they don't go deep enough. Like the world's always going to have something to say, some lie to say about the truth you own. And I say that you're not going to come up with anything new. You're not going to say anything new. You're not going to have some grandiose new thing. But what is new is the time that you're saying it, how you're saying it, when you're saying it, the delivery in which you say it, or bring it, whatever that is new and can only be reached to the audience in which you're supposed to be doing that to and for. So just know that. Just because you don't hit the audience of Beyonce or whatever, since we were on that, right, doesn't mean you're not a success.
100%.
That was where she's supposed to go and who she's supposed to influence and what she's supposed to do. But you too have an audience. Like you have people that you're supposed to influence. You know, we said this in another episode about the name of the studio being For the One. It's like, would you do your craft for the one person that needs your craft?
Love it.
Would you do it for the one? Because I'm the one, you're the one, you're the one. We all need that. Like you're saying with that guy that was doing the voiceover, it's like you're that one person he made that for. Like and did that and used his gift into that. You are that one. So if we were all to just use our gifts and talents and reach our sphere of whatever that is, as a benchmark, then we're all hitting levels of success.
Yeah, and just think about the aspect of just being faithful and diligent to it, right? I mean, there's a lot of people right now that they'll turn down jobs because it's not what they're waiting for, or it's like, if I can't be this big producer it's like, no, man, be a producer. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Be a talent. Just be faithful to what your gifting is, and let all the extras work out. Whatever like you said, the right timing, the right relation, that all will happen. But there are so many people that are not being, honest with themselves and just doing what they can do, which I think both of you have shown that, right? You started not from the bottom, but you faithful, you worked your place. You were just being, wherever it took you, you'll just go.
Yeah.
He was even telling me how you guys met, and for years you were like, well, we're going to do something, and then boom.
It's crazy.
It's like, then we're not going to get discouraged that it's not happening.
Yep.
We're not going to be like, well, maybe we're not meant. No, these things work, especially in Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know how many people told me, just be patient. It's going to take time. These things might take 10 years.
Yep.
Eventually it'll work out. Most people don't have that anymore.
Right.
Yeah, that's so true.
These young kids, they want to be an actress tomorrow.
Microwave. They want the
Exactly.
microwave. They want to put it in, hit a number, pop it out. But think about what you get in a microwave. Like your value you get out of a microwave, right? Too much microwavable food, you don't look so hot later, right? Like your health is declining, you've got all these problems.
Versus that crock pot.
But versus
where it just sits and it simmers. I'm gonna go there. It just sits and it
or
sits.
a homemade meal.
Sure.
I mean, there's time shopping, there's time prepping, there's multiple ingredients. It takes so many ingredients to make a fine recipe. And that's the same with the world. It takes to do this industry, really every industry, it takes a lot of people to do it. In our faith, you equate that to, it takes one body with many parts all functioning to do its purpose, right? You can't say to the hand, why are you not a foot? And that's what we do a lot of times, I think. You're like, whoa, that hand is so cool. I want to be that, when really you're like the lungs of the body. Right. Like you're behind the scenes. The hand is out here being all flashy, right? And you're like, I want to be that. Well, you are the lungs. The hand can't move if the lung's not breathing, So it's learning where you fit in the industry, learning where you fit in in this particular industry that we talk about all the time, the entertainment industry. Learn where you fit in that and do very, very well at that, refine that. It may take a couple of times trying different things, but eventually you'll find that sweet spot. Eventually you find that spot where you're just like, man, what I say is it kind of is easy. It's something that you naturally have in you. Now, just because we're good communicators or whatnot doesn't mean you don't have to prepare, doesn't mean you can't refine it. Okay, so I don't want to be like, you're just going to come out as a brilliant cinematographer or something.
Right.
No, but you have a way of seeing that I couldn't see, right? Like I just was having a conversation with one of the cinematographers here, and we're producing something in a couple of days, and I'm like, hey, I got to get in your brain. So I'm going to need you to sit down and articulate that with me, because I'm producing it and I'm helping run it. So I'm going to need to know to help support you in that vision, because he sees in that way, but he knows that's the lane he fits in. And I know that's not my lane.
Right.
And I want to lend way to his expertise. Like I'm saying, how do I support you in that? So let me get in your brain to help you in this situation. How do we work together as a team? And I think when you really peel back, like, where do I fit? Who am I? What is my authentic self? What do I bring to this? You start finding where you fit in whatever environment you're in, especially in this one.
Totally. And that's humbling to walk that out, to see where you fit, and to know what your, what your giftings are. And then, there's a lot of places, it's not that now here's another way of looking at the whole authentic self, right? I feel like that's where we're at. And, there's rooms that I'm in where it's a different Kelly. And we were joking about the different Kellys earlier.
True.
But there's Director Kelly, Minister Kelly, and there's 4-year-old crazy Kelly. But but there's different rooms where I'm different based on who it is, and it's not that I'm being less authentic. I'm just understanding my place in that space. Here you go. There's
Yes,
a good
yes.
rhyme.
Ding.
It's my place in that, but it's my place there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's plenty of times where I'm around like when I have our team in our ministry, we have a big ministry team, and there I am called to lead, and I'm called to be the strong leader. I'm called to be, that's what I do in that space. So I lead those conversations, and I lead those groups, and I lead those meetings, lead those teams around the world, lead those campaigns, everything we're doing. But then there will be places like, for instance, sometimes with our relationship, I'm a director and a producer, and you're there to light up that room. And that's what I'm not supposed, that's just not my role with our relationship.
Yeah.
That's how it's, and that's not like something I like, but I usually lead the room. That's not it at all. I didn't even cross my mind. I understand what's going on in that day. And I'm not being less authentic. A lot of times when I'm James, the same way, I'll be more or less, I've been in a lot of his spaces in different church settings or media, situations. There's been a few times when he's in my media world and I'll be that director, but there's plenty of times where I'm in his space and that is his world.
Yeah.
That's where he's meant to lead and be that, person. And I know, that I'm honored to be in that world, but that's not my place, to lead in that way. And that's really kind of a whole nother dynamic, even of reading a room, knowing your place.
I agree.
All of that.
I don't think you're just one dimensional.
Right.
As authentic.
Anybody,
And
right.
I just don't
That's
think
good.
authenticity is one dimensional. What I would say by definition, authenticity is, I tell people all the time, like it or not, what you see now is what you're going to get always. Like, I'm not different offset, onset, at home, not at home. Like, I welcome you across my whole life because I'm not changing. I am the same at all times. That's because I just know who I am, and I don't want to compromise who I am.
Right.
Now, like you, I will be quiet in certain rooms at times to understand the room and be respectful, and maturity, I think, happens in a lot of that, as you grow and develop, and depending on what gifts and talents and skills are in the room, and you lend way to those. You give, and I think that's a maturity that comes with learning how to be authentic to yourself. It's like I say this, every strength taken to the extreme becomes your weakness. So every strength taken to the extreme becomes your weakness.
Sure.
That's a maturity and bounds on your giftings.
Totally. Because now you're not threatened to be in that situation. Now you're like, well, I'm not the person shining in this room. You're not threatened by that.
Yeah,
You just know what you're supposed to be doing. That's whatever your assignment is for that given. Like I know people who, unless the world that they're in is revolving around them, they won't even be in part of that. They won't even be a part of that world. They won't even go to a world where everything is not revolving around their gift or their thing. That's because they feel threatened.
Yeah.
It's an immaturity. It's a vulnerability. It's really, kind of locating them really in a lot of ways. But then they'll shine when they get in their, space again. But
Yeah.
So.
But I think that's probably a testament to your podcast, to the things that you've done. I think you're unapologetic of where you came from. But, I've sat with so many people and heard a lot of stories when they've come from like a really tough background. And it's almost like they glorify the bad background,
Right.
versus just saying, I'm just not going to apologize from where I came from. It has shaped me. It's, taught me a lot of things. Usually they say you can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the girl. Right.
Right.
But it's that kind of concept of like, hey, I know I have these experiences and underneath my belt. I have seen things. I say the same thing for the military. That's why the military has such a hard time. A lot of the guys that come back, you can't unsee certain things. You just can't. When you try to take them through counseling and things like that, it's extremely hard to process all of those things.
Yeah, trauma.
It's the same. You can't unsee or unlive the things of where you've been. You can be created anew and learn how to process those things. And I hear that in your story.
No doubt.
But you're unapologetic about it in a kind, loving way. Like, I don't glorify it.
Right.
I just meet you there in it. I just say, hey, man, I've been there. There's this thing when I was a therapist for 14 years. And,
Oh, wow.
and so in that, I didn't have my doctorates, and most everybody else did. And it was a God thing that I ended up in that seat anyhow. But I asked one of my mentors, I said, okay, should I go get my doctorates? And then why? Why? I mean, why would I do that? And she said to me, oh, well, because when you walk into some rooms, everybody has the letters behind their name. and you're not going to have that. And I was like, huh? I don't care about any letters. I was like, I'm
Wrong
definitely
answer for
doing
you.
that. I'm like, definitely not doing that. So then I was like, okay, if they're that important, here's what I'm going to do. So I started a company, and it's called IBT. So I said, Amber Buto, IBT. And all my cards had it. Everywhere I
There's
went,
your letters.
there's my letters on the back ends. I made up my letters. And if you were super smart, you did not ask me what the letters meant, because you should know that because you're so smart.
Oh, snap. That's
And
awesome.
if you're just authentic and real, you're like, well,
What is
what
that?
is IBT? And I'm like, oh, I've been there. Literally. I've been there,
That is awesome.
And it's just like, man, I've been there. I've been there in pain. I've been there in sorrow. I've been there in good times. I've been there in tough times. I've struggled. I've just been there, and I'm just thankful that I get to go on this journey with you and being there, And so I think it's finding that.
It is awesome.
It's awesome.
Hey, and I just want to insert this. Like, I know these guys very well. And so, not that you are, but don't take like the confidence and the be yourself thing as in any way, any kind of arrogance or an unwillingness to change that which we need to change. As we're revealed that we need change or places that change. These are super humble people at the same time. We're just talking about, we're talking about a different aspect of that. But in the course of that, there's plenty of opportunities to grow and to mature. And it's just not taking away from who you are. It's adding to who you are, that growth and that maturity. So it's like just to be, clear on that front. So look, I want to back a little bit back to more toward our media. Why did you want to do media? Like, what was the whole bent of that? You're doing pastoring. You came out, you were, God did such amazing things in your life. You had a powerful, strong ministry, thriving, Why media? Why was that always a thing? I know that was the thing. It was a thing. Why?
I'm not sure. I can't name drop on the podcast, but I had an experience, and it was just really a God thing. It was crazy. And I almost told you about it a minute ago, but I basically, it was crazy. I had a dream. And in the dream, I was praying for one of the biggest performers in the world. And 2 hours later, I'm like best friends with his mom. She called me. I didn't even know him. And I'm praying for him. And so I would go to these concerts, man. And it was like stadiums of women passing out. Stadiums. And I wrote it in my book. And I said to his mom, I said, what do you think when you see this? It was Justin Bieber's mom. I said, what do you think when you see this? And Patty goes, I think we were created to worship. It's like Beatles status, bro. Like chicks passing out. Mm-hmm. And that was the moment that it hit me. I was like, media. Because like you'd hang out like this. It's just a little kid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, you literally come up from the floor, 50,000 girls are passing. You know what I mean? I'm like, I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, there's no way media can have that kind of power. I'm like, it's impossible. Like, I know this family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're gifted just like you're gifted. He's just a normal kid. There is zero chance that media can make a kid that we're playing ping pong with in the back do this. And it hit me, man. And I thought, wow. Mm-hmm. Like, we all are in media, if you think about it. The whole world's in media. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that is a powerful tool, like to impact for good or bad.
Yeah.
It is a powerful tool. I remember before I became a pastor, I remember I was in 9th grade and I was helping somebody and I sold crack to a pregnant woman. And I remember when she walked away, I wasn't even a faith person and it hurt me. And I thought, it's not fair for that kid, man. Like the baby in the belly, I'm like, yo, mom can do crack, but the kid, it messed me up. Yeah. Fast forward, I'm looking at the media and I'm going, what if you can use a camera and impact people for future generations? Yeah. Just like that drug could do the kid. And after going to those concerts, bro, I was like, media's powerful, man. I'm not sure we understand how powerful it is.
Yes.
It's not the devil. It is a gift freely from God, and it's power, man. You tell stories, you are moved, you can inspire people, and that's what did it, And again, I don't think I do it great, but I'm saying it is a passion of mine to do, because it's like, we all have gifts and talents.
Yeah.
And you put a camera on, and we can impact millions of people for the good. Whether you're producing a thought, you don't even have to be on the screen. You are behind the scenes impacting millions of people with a thought. And like, come on, man. Talk with you for 5 minutes. You're like, here's a thought. I'm like, yo, that ain't normal thoughts. Like, most people aren't standing in rooms going, here's a thought I have. Like, you have a gift. That is a powerful tool. And so when I saw that, I was like, didn't make me want to be a superstar singing in the world. Matter of fact, I'd be in these back prayer circles with every famous person you know, and I tell my wife, we're not that cool. We're here because of the Lord. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that good. But it made me go, wow. Like most people of faith try to run from it. It's the most demonic thing, dude. When it's such a powerful tool, man.
Yep.
We're all, 2020 showed you that. Every jacked up church needed a live stream.
Right.
It's like, bro, we're all in media.
Right.
Like, the whole world is in media. That makes
so
sense.
good. No, you've made me think of pretty much my exact journey.
Wow.
In that, I had a wonderful family, but ended up on drugs and the whole 9 yards, right? Have my come to Jesus moment, my literal come to Jesus moment, and eventually, find myself in media, which was something in me on my life assignment. I'm in it. I'm doing it. But my motives and my agenda, was all off. For me at that time, it was very secular. It was very much, I'm climbing a ladder of success. I'm trying to be the next Spielberg. I'm trying to be the who's who. I'm trying to build my company. It was all what it equaled to me at that point. And I learned the business and I learned all the skills and I was growing it, and it was great. And, you've probably watched the podcast before, then you've heard me tell a story about one of my, films almost getting picked up by the largest producer in Hollywood at the time. And it was, and I thought, this is it. This is everything I wanted. And within 6 months, actually, that producer passes away and my script goes poof.
Wow.
And he had the #1 movie in the year at that month when I met with him in Beverly Hills. And it went poof. And all the time I had loved God. I had helped people around me as best I could. But the Lord literally kind of dried up that well, as it were, for me to move on, or I wouldn't have moved on. We could say a grace. If grace doesn't lift from a thing, how do you even know it's time to move on? No, you stay right there. So it was part of it lifting for me. I thought, oh, that's it. I'm not doing Hollywood anymore. I'm not doing media anymore. That was it. That was my time. I did my thing. And I just went gung-ho into ministry, helping people, just doing what I could, loving Jesus, loving his presence, loving the world. And I just went gung-ho on that thing for many years, running around the world, third world nations, as you guys know.
Which he's incredible, by the way.
Yes.
Don't downplay that.
And we have so much fun doing it. But I was doing that for a whole lot of years. And I come home in between overseas trips, and I'm just at the gym on a treadmill, trying to stay somewhat healthy from sitting on a plane for
pretty good shape.
40 hours, 40 hours a week. And I'm on that. I'm watching a video, and it's of this old minister. I love these old ministers, like black and white, old school. I'm watching T.L. Osborne.
Oh yeah.
T.L. Osborne is ministering in a bowl arena in Tijuana, Mexico. And he's ministering on there, and because I like to hear how they articulate. I love how they make it simple, and it's beautiful. And I'm just watching this, and all of a sudden it hits me that T.L. Osborne he's passed away many years ago, and he is now in heaven. But his voice is still on the earth, and it's ministering to me right now on this treadmill. And I was like, that's a miracle. That's a miracle. That's a miracle. Media is a miracle, and it's neutral. It could be used for good. It could be used for bad. It's just a miracle, and it hit me. Not only is it ministering to me, I thought, man, I could be preaching. I could be ministering. I could be using media while I sleep. I could be ministering to people while I'm sleeping on the other side of the world. I could be ministering to people like TL. Now, this one will really blast your brain. After I've already left this earth, I can leave my voice behind. And now I'm actually still gaining fruit, as it were, in eternity, even though I'm not even on the earth.
Crazy.
I'm like, what? I don't even know how that works. I don't even have to process that fully. But it was like, that's a miracle, man. That is a miracle that we've been given. And how dare we not use it?
Well, it's the fastest way. One of the reasons too for me getting into media was duplication, right? It's the fastest way to duplicate. I mean, you duplicate yourself within seconds. Like, this film is duplicatable across the globe. Right. So if I'm sitting in a counseling session and I'm helping one person get free from addiction, depression, abuse, whatever. And there is a breakthrough that happens. This to one person recorded. That breakthrough now has built faith in millions that just watched it.
Yeah.
So it's duplicating your gift.
Yes.
It's duplicating your ability to travel far beyond what you could do,
Right.
or where you could travel. And it's allowing, we've talked a lot about our faith today, but, allowing God to do what he's going to do with that message. And, I think this generation we've talked a lot about is they've grown up in the media world. Like they grew up with a phone in their hand, which is media. Okay. And in that you say, okay, how do you put bounds on that? How do you teach within that? How do you use that for good? We did not grow up with that. We didn't have. I mean, y'all remember beepers? They're like trying to spell with letters. I mean, spell with numbers.
I had a page. Same time. I was like, "You a drug dealer?" I'm 8.
No, that code means I love you.
Yeah. But I mean, that was our way. I mean, you could never get on television or the radio, or you had the phone, and later in life you had a beeper, right?
Yep.
Where our kids are able to be engulfed in this constant reality that's not reality.
Right.
And what do they do with that? How do they use it? But then you see these kids today that are probably watching this show that are creating some of the coolest content, the coolest messages, saying the most amazing things. I was at a film festival the other day, and these 3 boys lived overseas in a jungle, grew up there. Parents were missionaries, so they grew up in this jungle. And they were given cameras over there. They had nothing but time and cameras.
Wow.
They made the most absolute groundbreaking little film, these 3 brothers did, that won everything because of their gifts and talents with this camera. But not only that, they were remote. Nobody knew of them. Nobody heard of them. Sure. Nobody knew of this story, anything. But they captured it over some years, brought that here, and now it's traveling all over.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's the power of media.
Yeah.
You think you're just doing a small little thing that catches wind and goes around the globe, And that was one of the reasons why I got into media, was because I just kept hearing duplication, duplication, duplication. Multiply, multiply, multiply. And how do we do that to reach the globe? Through media.
Yep. Yeah. And it comes down to me, you saying that. I'm like, okay, so you know that you can affect the maximum amount of people that you ever could via media. Now it comes down to, what are you going to say?
Mm-hmm.
What's important?
What's
What is
your
it that you
message?
want to, what's your message? What do you want to make and why? Because, I mean, now you got this tool. Like that's where I got to. I got real refined in what I wanted to do with media, because I'm like, okay, now not only can I do it, there's a responsibility to do it, and what am I saying and how I'm saying it. It can be used for a lot of fun and a lot of random things. I get that are entertaining, but you only got so much time. You only got so much time to do things with your life. Maybe you don't see that when you're 12 or you're 17, but like you just only got so much.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Oh, and I think because Scripture talks about the power of life and death in your tongue. Media, in one way, we're talking about the powerful side of it. There's a dark side of it.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Because as we're talking about just being faithful with our gifting and trusting, just there's a lust for fame.
Totally.
There's a side where, and it's not as pretty.
Nope.
But it doesn't mean that this is bad.
right.
You know what I mean? And so it's kind of
100%.
like, it's just being responsible. Like, the phone's incredible. You can reach a lot of people. You can also see things you shouldn't. And you also can be taken down by things you shouldn't. But it doesn't mean it's bad. And so, it's being back to being authentic, back to being true, because I bet it's a line, man, where you've got to deal with you, making sure it's in a pure place of just, and then, or you can slip off quick, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yep.
With every good, there's evil, right? With all evil, there's good. And I say, we would have been just fine in this world with one flower. Like, we could have been. I would have been devastated. But
You got so many sayings. He's like, always a saying.
But it's true.
Yeah, totally.
And
No,
it's
it's amazing.
like, but so with media, I think, I think in Christian media in particular, we try to like, well, it's got to have an altar call. It's got to have the message. Really, because God made like lots of flowers, like lots of them. So there's a lot of ways that we can spread good in this world. And there's a lot of fingerprints and images of the good that we know that we can put in the media that we have.
Right.
So I think we have to be able to get out of the box, pick our head up a little bit, and use our gifting and our creativity and our abilities to say,
Sure.
I'm going to make a great story that the characters have attributes in them that are things of good that make the world a better place.
No doubt.
I don't need to like make things cheesy to force something into, we were talking about your story earlier before we got on, and we were talking about episodic series about, how we see all these people that were in hard crime situations and murders and theft and drugs and all this. In the end, they're like, and they're in prison. It's like, right.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
All these stories lead you to where you knew it was going.
Yeah, you're like, imagine that.
Didn't see that coming.
But then where are the stories that are like, we tell these stories in such a way that it's like, and then there's a redemption in their life, and they did an about-face turnaround.
Right.
And they turned around and they did the hard work that it takes to make a change in your life.
100%.
That's the other, false perception we have that like somebody's going to do all that work for you and glorify. You're just going to like walk into victory your whole life. No, it's a dogfight. Like you're going to have to do it. It's never fun. I mean, to get into shape, you don't like go in the gym and look at it all and go like, yeah, and then walk out and think you're going to be in shape. I'm like, that just doesn't work.
Right.
You got to put in the work to do the turnaround. Where are those stories?
Yeah.
Like those type stories that we can tell that we don't have to have a, hard, there's not like an underlying agenda. It's just a great story.
In Christendom and media in particular, if they feel like you don't do the full deal, like telling the story, giving people an opportunity to receive Christ, walking them through a prayer. If you don't do that, then you didn't do it. Yeah. And that's just not it, man.
And let's rewind this. Like Christian television, which I'm on that too, so don't. Christian TV is less than 1% of all the media in the world. So let that sink in. You're talking about 0.5% of a market that we're all catering to each other.
Right.
Where you can have a thought and idea, produce a feature film, and now reach the globe.
Right.
Or high-five yourself in a back room and nobody that really needs your message gets it.
Right.
Like you're saying, with a series like that, you don't have to tell the altar call. You don't have to tell this. Yeah. The life tells the story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about, I was watching a documentary recently, and it was like, it gears you through like these ups and downs and crimes and robberies, and like you're hoping to see how it ends up, and they all left me empty.
Right.
And that's where the thought was like, bro, forget the story of whatever you want me to say at altar call. Where's that change?
Yeah.
You don't just see those things, and you guys are in a position to powerfully, not preachfully, powerfully share positive things out there, man, and let people know there's hope.
That's right.
And that's what I have said fuels me in starting even this podcast.
Right.
We on this podcast give everybody the ability to share their story.
Right.
Their story.
Whatever it is.
Whatever that
their
story is.
I get it.
It's their story. And, we have people of faith, people not of faith, all walks of life that we sit here with on this show.
Powerful.
And talk about where and how they fit in the media industry, and hopefully to encourage those out there that are in this industry to hear the stories, to raise their bar a little bit, or take the next step, or jump into the industry, or glean from something that somebody that has done it. Hear the things they've done, to be encouraged by the other stories and stuff like that. Any way that I can use media for good,
I love it.
I want to be a part of.
Powerful.
And I think that's what I'm hearing in all of us that sit here. And pretty much, a lot of the people that we've had on really understand the power of what we're all doing, and also want to do something good with it.
I love it.
It's pretty much what draws you probably to this place. We're pretty passionate about that. That we're a place of good. There is a lot of other places talking about the dark in the industry that you can go shoot things that not to be listed on here, right?
Right.
And I say, hey man, that's great. If you want to do something like that, no judgment.
Right.
That's your lane. That's your deal.
Go for it.
Go for it. It just won't be here.
Right.
It just won't be with us because we're here to make the world a better place.
I love it.
That's what we're here for. That's what we stand for here at For the One. So,
100%.
Well, it makes you wonder how different this world could be if there were more you guys. You know what I mean? Like, how many people are in your position and they just catered into not being themselves and only doing whatever television, you know what I mean, Christian, or instead of going, man, I'm gonna do good. Yeah. I'm gonna use all that because your skill level is top notch, above, just up there with anybody on earth. You guys could do it, or you could have took a lesser role. And said, well, I'm just going to do what people want me to do. And so, man, it just makes me think, like, everybody talks about how dark Hollywood is. It wouldn't be as dark if the people that should have been there are the ones going, I'll bring my light.
Yeah.
Like, we spend so much time reacting to darkness, but you know how powerful light is. This room the lights are off, except these lights. The power of light.
Yeah.
But people don't think like that, man. They want to put their light in the same room, and it's like, what's going on?
Or they want to be an individual light.
Right.
And that's where I think I think now more than ever, we are sitting in the right incubated time to band together those that want to do good in the world, to come together as a unified front. The darkness has no chance.
Come on.
No chance.
It's true.
One light can only crack a door.
Right.
Which we could start to run towards, but we're still going to trip, fall, be entangled, and everything to get across that room because it's still too dark. But you unify us all together, dark dissipates and has no chance.
Yes.
And that is what we have to do is quit fighting each other, those of us that want to do good.
It's true.
Quit judging each other about our good. My good's better than your good.
Measuring good.
Whatever.
Right.
Like good's good. Okay, let's all agree on that. And let's just go do good together. If you look at, the unifyingness of certain people groups right now in the world, they are the less than 1%. They really are. But yet they're getting things done that the majority cannot.
Crazy, huh?
The only thing difference is the unifying.
Right.
They unify for one
and their
common
voice
good.
becomes loud.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. They cause a movement. So how do we, for the good, cause a movement for good?
Right.
And stand together. It's going to take unifying.
Come on.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's true.
Wow, that's really good. Amber 2024.
I go, right.
Dang, this is like...
Yeah, that's good
Hey,
stuff. Yeah.
we could keep going and going
Yes, we
and
could.
going because I got my boy James here, and
Yes.
between the two of you, oh my gosh, I'm just enjoying being here today, y'all.
Awesome.
I'm just like, yeah. I'm like, amen.
And just so people know, it's not like we got talking points. We literally just sat down and had a conversation. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I've been to make podcasts. It's like, here's all your questions. It's like, dude, we just literally sat down and had a conversation.
That's it.
So
That's
awesome.
kind of the idea of
kinda
this.
the
It was
idea.
like we want our audience to feel like they get to hang out
Love it.
and be on set with us because that was happening so much, right? We film here like all the time.
Right.
And so we're all, just like we were right before we shot here, we were all out there eating
Talking,
lunch.
having fun, yeah.
And we're all talking and having fun and we're telling stories. And we're like, man, that needs to be on camera.
It's a great
Man,
idea.
that needs to be,
incredible.
the world needs to hear that. People that don't get to be on set and don't get to be in this world that want to get into this world, they need to hear that story.
I love it.
We get to hear them all the time and we're encouraged by them to keep going. So it's kind of like, how do we sit with our friends and have that on
Totally.
set?
It really, we're like,
Amazing, man.
if it was up to me, it's just very, problematic. But if it was up to me, we would like literally be having these conversations literally in between takes on a production set. So the next best thing was to do it in studio the way that we've done it, because these are our conversations in between.
Which you're not getting better studios on the planet, just so you know.
I just
might be just
thanks.
as good as, but you're not getting better. I'll tell you that right now. Y'all need to be promoting your studios.
have to
dude.
agree with you.
Thank
have to
you.
agree with you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Listen, we're gonna get out of here. I am Kelly Leger.
I'm Amber Buto.
We have loved having James
you, man.
Levesque. Hey, if
Yes.
they want to get a hold of you, if they want to reach out to connect with you, what's the best way to do all that?
Probably at James_Levesque on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
All right, they can find out all your
Yeah.
stuff, books,
And your
media,
podcast?
Yeah, the podcast is called Fulfill My Destiny Podcast. It's everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy to find.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this has been Set Life coming to you from Studio One at For the One Studios. We'll see you next time.